The sting of a hand across soft skin can echo louder than a gunshot. That was the first thing that ran through my mind when I saw my sister's palm connect with my daughter's cheek, right there, in front of 200 people at my father's birthday dinner. I'm Ava. And from wherever you're watching this, listen close, because family cuts deeper than strangers ever could. My daughter, Emily, barely 14, stood frozen in shock, her face burning red where my sister, Veronica, had slapped her. The hush that fell over the banquet hall was heavy and thick. People tried to pretend they hadn't seen it, their forks trembling, their drinks pausing midair. Veronica threw her head back and laughed, the sound sharp enough to peel paint from the walls. Like mother, like daughter, she sneered. Both of you are useless. Before I could react, my mom, my own mother, leaned forward from her seat, a cruel smirk playing on her lips. Well, she said, sipping her champagne, she needed to learn some shame sooner or later. My heart stopped. My knees nearly gave out. My daughter stood there, eyes welling up, trembling like a leaf, humiliated beyond words. I saw her glance at me, wordless, asking why no one was defending her. Then, fate twisted the knife deeper. A quiet pop echoed from the speaker system behind me. I turned, a flash of panic in my chest, and realized something that made my blood freeze. The microphone. I'd left it live, pinned to my dress, connected to the house speakers. The whole room had heard every word. Veronica's ugly laughter, my mother's smug approval, broadcast to everyone in the hall, unfiltered, undeniable. Gasps rippled through the guests. A few people put down their plates, shaking their heads. Veronica's face went pale. Mom's eyes darted around wildly as she realized what had happened. I stepped forward, voice steady, eyes locked on them both. Everyone heard you, I said. Every disgusting word. Veronica opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Mom tried to force a smile, to control the narrative, but it was too late. Something inside me finally snapped. Years of quiet tolerance, of swallowing their insults, of protecting my daughter from their poison. It ended. Right there. I took Emily's hand, squeezed it, and whispered, "I'm sorry, baby. You'll never stand alone again." Then I turned back to my so-called family, letting every ounce of rage and cold fury shine in my voice. "You want to teach shame?" I said, voice like glass. "Fine. I'll teach you what real shame looks like." And that's when I heard him whisper my name from behind the door. That voice from behind the door, it was my husband, Daniel, who had been setting up the cake in the back kitchen. He stepped into the chaos, eyes wide as he took in the frozen crowd, the guests half standing, the raw humiliation still echoing through the speakers. "What happened?" he asked, glancing between Veronica, Mom, and our daughter, whose eyes were still red with shock. I felt the tears threatening, but I refused to let them fall. "They hit Emily," I spat, my voice sharper than I'd ever heard it. "And they called us worthless." Everyone heard. Daniel's face darkened, something primal and protective flashing across his eyes. He went straight to Emily and knelt, his voice soft. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" She nodded, even though she was still shaking. He turned back to Veronica, who had the nerve to try and fix her hair, pretending nothing had happened. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he roared, and the entire hall felt even quieter. Veronica tried to wave him off. She was being mouthy. She deserved discipline. Daniel laughed, an ugly, disbelieving laugh. "You think you get to lay a hand on my child? In public? And then call her worthless?" Mom tried to interrupt. "Daniel, please, let's not ruin the party." "Ruin the party?" I cut her off, my rage burning so hot it felt like it might boil over. "You think this is about a party? You just stood there and cheered while my daughter was slapped." Mom's face pinched. She needed to learn respect. My chest tightened. "No." She needed love. "But I forgot. You never gave me any, so why would you show her?" Gasps echoed again from a table in the corner. A friend of Dad's, old Mr. Finley, shook his head and muttered, "Monsters. Absolute monsters." Veronica shot him a dirty look, but couldn't argue. I stepped forward, closer to them, calm in a way that felt terrifying even to me. Listen very carefully, I said. You think you can bully me or my child? You think you can humiliate us in front of the entire family?
Wrong.
You just told on yourselves in front of everyone. And you have no idea what I'm capable of. Veronica snorted. Oh, please. What? Are you going to throw a tantrum? I smiled ice cold.
No.
I'm going to make you wish you'd never been born. A hush spread through the hall, so deep I could hear my own breath. And that's when I heard him whisper my name from behind the door. It was my father's voice this time, weak and rattled, coming from behind the side door near the stage. When he stepped out, cane in one hand, his face was ashen. The hush of the crowd turned into a stunned silence. Even he looked shaken by what he'd just heard through the microphone. He glanced at Veronica, then at Mom, then back to me, his eyes glistening with something that looked a lot like regret. What did you say to my granddaughter? He asked, voice cracking. Mom tried to recover. Oh, Harold, it was nothing. Nothing. Dad's voice boomed, stronger now. I heard it. We all heard it. Veronica folded her arms, defiant. She was being disrespectful, Dad. Enough. Dad snapped, his cane striking the floor. You laid hands on a child. My grandchild. And you humiliated your sister in front of everyone. Veronica's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Mom stepped in. Harold, don't let her twist you around. You know Ava always plays the victim. I felt a snarl rise in my throat. The victim? You raised me to believe I wasn't even worth love, Mom. You called my daughter worthless. Worthless. Her smirk faltered, but she tried to hold it. It was just discipline. Dad shook his head, shoulders sagging. This is my party, Linda, he told her, voice icy. And you've made a fool of me. Of our family. Mom scoffed like he was being dramatic. Oh, Harold, grow up. But something had snapped in him, too.
No.
You grow up, he hissed. You always put your pride before your children. I'm done letting you poison my family. I felt the room shift, guests leaning forward, trying to process the drama. Dad turned to me, his eyes softening. Ava, sweetheart, I'm sorry. I should have seen it sooner. I should have protected you. It was like hearing an apology I'd waited my entire life for. I almost collapsed right there. Veronica stepped in, venom on her tongue. Don't act like you're the hero, Dad. You were never around, remember? He faced her, steel in his eyes. Maybe I wasn't, but I'm here now, and I won't let you or your mother tear this girl down again. My daughter Emily clung to my arm, trembling. I held her tight, feeling strength build in my chest like a rising tide, because now I knew what I had to do. And that's when I heard him whisper my name from behind the door. This time it was my cousin Mark, who had been hiding near the catering table, half drunk and wide-eyed. He stepped forward, phone in hand, a little too eager. I recorded everything, he stammered, glancing nervously around the room. Veronica's face went completely white. You what? Mark swallowed hard. I had my phone rolling the whole time, to get a clip of the birthday toast for Instagram. But it caught, well, all of it. Mom's voice cracked. Delete it.
Now.
He shook his head, a strange kind of bravery flickering in him. No, Aunt Linda. People should know what you two did. Emily is a kid. You humiliated her. Veronica lunged at him, trying to grab the phone, but I stepped in front, shielding Mark. Try it. I dared her. Lay another hand on someone tonight. Go ahead. She froze, rage boiling behind her eyes. I turned to Mark, voice steady. Send me that video. He nodded and pressed a few buttons. Moments later, my phone pinged, proof of their cruelty, undeniable. Daniel stepped closer, wrapping an arm around my shoulder. Ava, what are you going to do with it? I stared at the phone, at the trembling faces of my mother and sister, and felt a power I never felt before. I'm going to end them, I said, calm as ice. Mom hissed, don't you dare ruin our reputation. I laughed, a hollow, dangerous sound.
You ruined yourselves.
I'm just letting the world see it. Veronica glared at me, panic clawing at her perfect smile. Ava, you wouldn't dare. Oh, I said, stepping forward, so close I could see the tiny lines in her makeup. Try me. Emily, still clinging to Daniel, looked at me with wide eyes. Mom, are you really going to post it? I knelt to her level, brushing a tear from her cheek. No one ever gets to make you feel small again, baby. No one. Then I stood, shoulders squared, looking directly at my mother. For years you taught me shame. For years you taught me fear. Now, you're going to learn what it feels like. Mom shook her head, voice cracking. You'll regret this, Ava. No, I told her, voice ringing with finality. You will. And that's when I heard him whisper my name from behind the door. I spun around to see my brother, Stephen, standing awkwardly in the doorway. He'd flown in from Seattle, late to the party, still wearing his travel jacket. He looked from my face to Emily's tear-streaked cheeks, then to Mom and Veronica, who were practically vibrating with panic. What the hell happened? He asked, voice sharp. Veronica shot him a desperate look. Stephen, she's trying to destroy us. He raised a brow. Destroy you? Why? I took a breath, so deep it almost hurt. Because they slapped Emily. Called her worthless. Then my mother said she deserved it, and everyone heard it on the mic. Stephen's eyes hardened instantly, a fury I'd rarely seen from him igniting behind the softness. You hit a child, he barked, rounding on Veronica. She tried to look indignant. She was mouthing off. Stephen cut her off. She's a kid, Veronica. And you, Mom, seriously? After everything you put Ava through growing up? Mom tried to wave him off. Stephen, stay out of it. He laughed, raw and bitter. Oh, I am all the way in this time, Mom. Veronica glared at me, practically spitting. What, you think you're some kind of hero, Ava? Broadcasting our dirty laundry. I crossed my arms. If it cleans out the rot? Absolutely. Daniel stepped forward, putting a comforting hand on my back. We're done letting you shame this family into submission. The entire hall was still. Guests whispered to each other, eyes darting, no one quite believing the meltdown playing out in real time. Emily sniffled, voice tiny. Mom, can we go home? My heart ached for her. Soon, baby. I smoothed her hair gently, then turned back to face the crowd. Everyone who witnessed this, I announced, I want you to remember, no child deserves to be treated like this. Ever. Veronica's eyes burned with hate, but Stephen stepped in front of me, protective and unyielding. Ava, I'm with you. Whatever you need. I'm not letting them rewrite this. A tear finally escaped, one I'd been holding back for far too long. Thank you, Stephen, I whispered. Veronica sputtered. You're choosing her over us? Stephen didn't hesitate. Every damn time. The tension cracked like glass, the entire room holding its breath. And that's when I heard him whisper my name from behind the door. The voice was Dad's again, steadier this time, coming from where he'd sat back down, exhausted but clear-eyed. He motioned for me to come closer, his hand shaking just a little. I stepped forward, Emily still clinging to my side. Dad's eyes traveled over the wreckage of his party, the shocked guests, the discarded plates, the shattered illusion of a perfect family. I failed you, he began, voice low but strong enough to cut through the silence. I let them twist everything while I looked the other way. I tried to speak, but he raised a trembling hand to stop me.
No, he said.
I need to finish. Veronica let out a bitter laugh. Oh, please, Dad. You're really going to side with her after everything? He didn't even look at her. You hit a child, Veronica. My granddaughter. There is no excuse for that. Veronica's face turned red, her fists clenching. You always loved Ava more. Dad's voice cracked like thunder.
No.
I feared Ava more, because she never bent to your mother's cruelty. The air left my lungs. Those words felt like a window had finally opened in a room I'd been suffocating in all my life. Dad turned to me, tears threatening. Ava, I was a coward. I watched your mother break you down, and I did nothing. I will regret that until the day I die. My chest tightened, a sob fighting to rise. Why didn't you ever protect me? I asked, my voice small, like a child's. He swallowed hard. Because I didn't know how to stand up to her. His eyes moved to Mom, whose expression had hardened into stone. I let fear rule me. I let it rule this house. Daniel stepped forward. You don't have to anymore. Dad nodded. You're right. Enough. He turned to the stunned guests, raising his voice. For everyone listening, I am sorry. This family failed Ava and Emily. And I will not let it happen again. Veronica scoffed, but her eyes glimmered with panic. Mom, though, stayed ice-cold, arms folded, refusing to yield. Dad took my hand, squeezing it. Whatever you need to do, Ava, do it. I will stand beside you. Something inside me lit up like wildfire, the permission I'd needed all these years. I looked over at Daniel, at Stephen, at Emily, at the roomful of witnesses. It was time to burn the rest of the lies to the ground. And that's when I heard him whisper my name from behind the door. The voice was raw, desperate, and trembling, my mother's. She stood behind the door, her smirk finally wiped away, replaced by something almost human.
Fear.
She stepped forward, her voice cracking, hands shaking as if they'd never known how to beg before. Ava, she pleaded, don't do this. I stared at her, decades of rage rising in my throat. Do what, Mom? I said, my voice ice-cold. Tell the truth. Her mouth twisted, searching for any angle to control me again. This will destroy us. The whole family will fall apart. You'll regret it. Emily tightened her grip on my arm, watching me with wide, hopeful eyes. I refused to look away from my mother. I've spent my whole life regretting that I didn't stand up to you. That ends tonight. Mom tried to laugh, brittle and sharp. You're not strong enough, Ava. You never were. Daniel stepped beside me, steady as a mountain. She's stronger than all of you put together. Mom's eyes darted to Dad, still seated but resolute. Then to Stephen, standing behind me like a guard. Even Veronica shrank back under their collective gaze. You think you're the victim? I asked, voice steady. You hit your own granddaughter with your words, tried to shame me in front of strangers, and laughed while doing it. And now you're worried about your precious image. Tears welled up in Mom's eyes, the first I'd seen in years. Ava, please. Think of the family name. I shook my head, calm and certain. My daughter's heart is worth more than your name. Her lip quivered, fury mixing with helplessness. You can't do this to me. I took a slow step forward, inches from her face, letting her see every bit of my resolve. Watch me, I whispered. The room was dead silent. No one dared move. Then, with a single breath, I opened my phone, loaded the video Mark had sent, and tapped send to every contact on my family's group chat, a message with one line. See how they treat a child. Mom gasped like she'd been punched. Veronica's face drained of all color. The guests began checking their own phones as notifications buzzed through the hall, eyes widening in shock and disgust. I looked back at Emily, who was finally starting to breathe easier. And that's when I heard him whisper my name from behind the door. The voice behind the door was Dad's again, but this time steadier, stronger, like a man who had finally woken up from a decades-long nightmare. He stepped through the doorway, took one look at Mom crumbling, Veronica stunned, and then turned to me with the faintest nod. It's over, he said, voice rough with emotion. I nodded, phone still in my hand, my pulse hammering from the adrenaline. All around us, phones buzzed as the video kept spreading, the entire family, and half the neighborhood by now, hearing exactly how Mom and Veronica had tried to crush Emily. Mom dropped into a chair, breathing like someone had run a blade through her pride. Ava, she rasped, you've ruined me. I didn't even blink.
No, Mom.
You ruined yourself. Veronica was shaking, eyes darting from face to face, as if someone might swoop in and save her. Ava, please, she tried. Don't let this go public. We can fix it. We can spin it. I'll apologize. I tilted my head. Emily will never again see you as anything but the woman who slapped her. There is no fixing that. Emily looked up at me, voice so tiny it almost broke me. Mommy, am I really useless? My heart shattered, but I crouched to her level, voice thick with tears.
No, baby.
You are everything. You are kind, you are strong, and you are more precious than every dollar, every family name, every lie they ever told. She nodded, eyes shining with new hope, and threw her arms around me. Stephen stepped closer, voice hard. You're not alone, Ava. We're all done covering for them. Daniel placed his hand on my back, warm and steady. I'm proud of you, he whispered. Dad finally spoke again, glancing at Emily. I will spend the rest of my life trying to make this right, he vowed, tears rolling down his cheeks. The guests had begun to murmur, not with pity, but with respect. They looked at me as though I had done what they'd all been too afraid to do. Stand up for the truth, no matter how ugly. I took a deep breath, letting the shame that had shackled me my whole life fall away like rusted chains. For the first time, I felt free. Mom looked up at me with hollow, haunted eyes and whispered, How could you betray your own mother? I stood tall, voice calm and final. You betrayed me first. Outside, fireworks started cracking the sky, the birthday celebration continuing in the distance, as if mocking the ashes of what we'd burned down. But I smiled, holding Emily close, knowing that from these ashes, we'd build something honest. And that's when I heard him whisper my name from behind the door.